Alright, in this video I'd like to go over the basics of arrays. Arrays allow us to store more information. It's like a list of data. So we're going to learn how to define an array with square brackets. We're going to access the array elements, find the length of an array, and be able to add and remove elements using some methods. Okay, so let's start off. I've got my JS sandbox open here and running, and we can start playing around with this. So first up, we're going to define with square brackets. All right. So array basics. So it's just we're going to create a variable. I'm going to call it my array, and we assign it. And instead of giving it a number or a string or a Boolean value, we're going to give it make it a list. Or an array it's called, right? So we do square brackets, and an array is simply an ordered collection. Let's write that down. Array equals an ordered collection of data. Okay, and the data that we store, they're called array elements. So my array, we could do some numbers like that, right? That would be my list of numbers. Okay, and you can keep going, whatever you want. All right, so that's how we define an array. Let's actually change this. Let even numbers be assigned that. I could do let vowels, and we could create an array with A, E, I, O, and U, and maybe sometimes Y. Right? Create an array of vowels. Let's not include Y this time, though. All right, so that's how you can make an array. Ta-da! You can also make an empty array. Let empty array be assigned an empty array. And sometimes we want to do this. We want to start with an empty array, and then we'll add to it later. Okay, now the fun part is how do we access the array elements? It's great we're storing these values inside of this array, but how do I actually get these values? So we can access the array elements using the index of the element. Okay, what is the index of the element? It's like the position of the element. So I'm just going to copy this even nums here, and I'm going to make a comment index. And the index values are basically the position. So I mentioned it's an ordered collection. So the first element is at position 0. The next element is at position 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Okay, and now this is where it's like, okay, why don't they start at 1? You got to talk to whoever came up with programming. Computing scientists like to start counting at 0. All right, so the first element is at position 0, second element at position 1, third element at position 2. Right, so it's always kind of 1 less. The second element, its index value is 1. The third element, its index value is 2. Okay, so it's always 1 less. And then what we can do with this is, actually, hold on. I'm just going to comment that out for a second and save that. And let's just show you in here. If I type even nums in the console, right, because we've declared it as a global variable, I can access it in my console. You'll see it's a list with 6 elements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if I expand this, you'll see here's your index values. Right? Position 0 is 2, index 1 is 4, index 2 is 6. And I often use index and position interchangeably. I think the official term is index, but I often talk about it as the position. Right? Position 0, index 0. Okay? So if we want to access a specific value, we would just do the name of the array, and then a square bracket, and then you pass in the index, or not pass in, it's not a function. It's the index operator, something like that. So you pass in the 0, and it gives you the value at index 0, which is 2. Right? Even nums at position 1 would give you 4, 2 is 6, 3, 4, 5. And if I go beyond, undefined, oh no. Okay? So yeah, you can try to access beyond the index values, but then it's not defined. There's nothing there. All right. Well, we also, you can see the length property here. So you can also go even nums dot length. Okay, and any array you can get the length of it. So vowels dot length is 5, right? Even nums length was 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Vowels is A-E-I-O-U, that's 5. Empty array dot length is 0, right? Has a length of 0. That should make sense. Okay, so we define an array with that. We can access array elements with the square bracket as well, right? Position using the index. Let me add that with square brackets and index. We can find the length of the array. Oh, and now how do we add and remove elements? Okay, so let's do this. If I go empty array, we can add elements to the end of the array using push. Okay, so I'm going to push high. And then we can do it again. Array.push hello. And then empty array dot push hey. Whatever. And in between each one, let's print it out. Console.log empty array, which is really a bad name for my array if it's no longer empty, but that's okay. Alright, so if we run this, you'll see, okay, we pushed high to it, so the empty array now has high in it. And then we pushed hello, and like I said, push always adds it to the end. And then we pushed hey, so it pushed hey to the end. Awesome. You can also, well, we could have done it here as well, right? Empty array dot push hola. Or is it hola? Anyway, we'll do that. Oh, this is interesting. So when you do the push, it returns the new length of the array. I guess that could come in handy at some point in time. And now you'll see that we've pushed that new value to the end of the array. And then pop is the method that just removes the last element. Okay, so it removes the last element and it returns the last element too. So you could save it in a variable if you wanted. Right? It'll pop this and return that value. If I look at empty array now, you'll see that it removed the last element. Let's do empty array.pop again, and it'll give me the hey. And you'll see that's gone. Let's pop it again. Now there's only the high left. Pop it one more time, and now the empty array is actually an empty array again. Yay! Okay, so that's push and pop. Push and pop always work with the last element, right? With the end of the array. Push something, add something to the end of the array. Pop, remove whatever is at the end of the array. All right. Oh, and then oh no, it's not slice, it's splice. Gotta watch my typo there. Okay, splice. We'll use slice later. Where do we use slice? Well, I didn't type it out yet. We'll get there. Anyway, splice is what we can use. This one's a little more complicated. Let's take a look at my vowels array. And splice it's more complicated because it's more versatile. Basically with splice, we can add or remove elements. Actually, we can do both. Add or remove. And we tell it at a specific position. So push and pop worked with the end of the array. Splice can work anywhere. So let's say, for example, I wanted to insert. Well, let's do remove actually first. Let's say I wanted to remove this E here, right? Pop couldn't do it. Pop would just remove this. I want to remove the E. So we can do vowels.splice, and I give it the start value, which is basically the index position of where I want to start removing things. What just happened there? Okay, which is position 0, position 1, right? So I give it position 1, and then we give it a delete count, which is how many things I want to remove. Because you could start here and you could remove multiple items at once, but I'm just going to remove one thing. And then technically you can add more things, and this is where we could remove and we could also add something new here. But I don't want to do that, and that's optional. So just like that, when you want to remove from a specific position, give it the position, the index, 1, and how many things you want to remove, in this case just 1. And that should remove the E. And you'll see it removes that, it returned that E as an array. And it does it as an array because you could have removed more than one thing, so it returns a collection of the things you've removed. Okay, let's try something else here. Let's go vowels.splice. This time I want to remove, sorry, the text is getting in the way here. Let's say I want to remove the O. 0, 1, 2, right? That's position 2. So vowels dot splice, position 2, and I want to remove one thing. Ta-da! And we check vowels again, now the O's gone. Now let's say we wanted to put the O back at position, actually let's put the O at the very beginning. So we could go vowels dot splice, and I'm going to go position 0. This time I don't want to remove anything, so I'm going to go 0 for my delete count. And then I can add what I want to add to the array, which is going to be an O. So this says at position 0, right, at index 0, remove nothing, and add an O. Vowels, and again, it returned an array, because if I did remove something, it would have returned what I removed, an empty array. I removed nothing, and it inserted the O at the 0 there. Okay, so that's Splice. The adding items is optional. You always have to tell it how many items you want to remove, and if you don't want to remove anything, 0, right? And then the key here is that first element is you can access any position in the array that you want, any index value. Okay, that should be it. We can create arrays with that, access the array elements with that, and the index, index/position. We can get the length of the array, right, using the name of the array.length, and we can add and remove elements, push, pop, and splice. Okay, hope that made sense. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.